Hello, every pony, and welcome back to Fandom Fridays, where we proceed to check out all the fanfics that are not pony related. Why? Very, very simple. When you have to deal with a bad fanfic from your previous week, sometimes it pays and it helps a lot if you decide to read something that actually gives you joy. You hope. And for today, we have one of those. Join us, won't you, as we proceed to a Captain Planet fanfic. Well, we haven't done one of those in ages. And I just got off watching Suburban Nights, and it left me with a whole lot of questions and answers. So, without further ado, stay here as we here at the Terryberry Memorial Library are proud to present Heroes for Earth by Steph and Matt. Enjoy. Heroes for Earth by Steph and Matt. Chapter 1. Breaking News. Wall Street was breathing a massive sigh of relief today as Congress signed the Unity Act into law. The new law has corrected a long controversial section of the SEC regulation, hereby repealing all antitrust laws. Within 3 hours of the law becoming effective, alliances were formed between long political and economic enemies. Market analysts were stunned at the speed at which the recession was brought under control, as global economic concerns quickly placed their bids. And now, let's go to Wall Street with Karen and Gillis. Karen? Thanks, Dan. And what has been termed a bloodless coup, 96 of the largest public stockholder companies in America became a conglomerate, dubbed the corporation. 83 CEOs have resigned and have been legally denied their originally agreed severance packages, a move that has been widely celebrated by the corporation employees. The corporation is now effectively the largest force in domestic politics and international trade and economics. Remarkably, the sudden shift has been widely celebrated most by those that stand to lose their financial independence, as the new conglomerate has taken over a near limitless supply of franchises, which have been left closed due to the economic crisis. With the help of the deep pockets of corporations now backing those of closed franchises, unemployment has plummeted. Hundreds of businesses across the globe can reopen once again. Newly appointed corporation CEO Alexander Apus has already outlined plans to spread to new areas of industry and commerce across the world. To quote Mr. Apus, "A new era of profit and prosperity has come. History will now mark this as a new golden age, out of the darkness of the times." While still having economic enemies and legal opponents across the world, nobody can deny that today's result on Wall Street seems to prove his words true. Back to you, Dan. Reporting live from Wall Street, Karen Gillis. When we return, we'll be speaking to our panel of experts to explain what this global merger means for you and how it will affect international relations in years to come. Until then, this is Dan Pierce, KBX Broadcasting, your home for the latest news, a news subsidiary of the corporation. Up next, who's gay? 6 months later. The corporation was quick to begin damage control today when the East Meridian Ocean oil rig was ripped apart by a massive explosion. Less than an hour ago, a spokesman for the corporation confirmed that 36 workers were killed in the explosion. The families have been contacted, but their names have been withheld for the time being. Alexander Apis, CEO of the corporation, has announced that they have already approached the situation and found a solution. They're certain there will be no repeats. Mr. Apis plans to unveil the prototype of a new, fully automated submersible drilling platform, ready to be retrofit and moved into place within the next week. The corporation assures us that oil production will return within the next week, and customers have no noticeable disruption in their supply. It is the first serious crisis that the corporation has been forced to deal with since the great merger last year. Now, for more in-depth coverage, we go live to our anchor, live at the scene. Karen Gillis. Karen, are you there? Right here, Dan. The coast is already covered in oil. I can see ships from the corporation already on the scene. They deployed the usual apparatus to maintain the oil slick. But the fact is that the oil is pressurized and coming into the ocean at thousands of barrels an hour. The rescue effort is divided between containing the oil and putting the fire out. The local wildlife is swamped. I covered the BP spill in the Gulf years ago, and I can tell you, this looks like it's going to be worse. Karen, any sign of developments at the drilling platform itself? I'll be honest with you, Dan. I can barely see the rig from here. It's been a staple at the coastline for a decade now, and we can't even make it out, but we can tell immediately where it is by the smoke. The fire is completely out of control. A number of ships are pumping seawater, trying to cool down the blaze. but with the sheer volume of the crude oil in the wire already, it may be doing more harm than good. I can taste the smoke in the air from here, and the wind is blowing it the other way. Helicopters are being forced away from the scene by the acid smoke.
Karen, we're going to have to take a break soon, but we'll come back to you as soon as we can.
Understood. I'll keep you up to date as soon as things unfold.
Karen Gillis, live from Meridian, and she was not the first to make comparisons to the infamous Gulf spill of 2010. The BP spill in the Gulf was, of course, the beginning of the end of that particular energy company, and the corporation's purchase of BP was what brought them into the energy market. With that in mind, we're going to take a break, and then come back with our panel of market analysis and legal experts to determine what kind of tragedy we have.
1 month later.
The last victim of the Mediterranean oil rig was laid to rest this afternoon, bringing to a close the ongoing mourning period for the families of the 36 victims. The family of the last victim has expressed their gratitude to the corporation for covering all expenses and for respecting their privacy during this trying time. But the funeral itself was not without its own share of controversy. Outside the cathedral itself during the service, there was a near riot as police crashed with the always present crowd of protesters that follow. The protesters continue to crusade against the corporation and its policies with regards to the environment. The Third World exports free trade agreements. The corporation was quick to condemn the protesters for their disrespect and their blatant exploitation of family and mourning. Mr. Apis was quick to rally, approaching Congress today to call for permission to create a fully automated oil rig. The government was in favor of the project. There was a fully automated oil rig would pose no safety risk to workers. The corporation has been seeking approval for the automatic rig for over 4 years now, but found little support in government. Until today, with the latest opinion polls showing overwhelming support from the public and the consumers of the corporation's fuel supply. The more vocal opponents have accused the corporation of exploiting the Mediterranean explosion to push their new technology through the approval process, but those comments were quickly shouted down. The prototype is scheduled to be completed within 2 years. In related news, the Mediterranean oil well has finally been sealed, and the long road towards cleanup continues. Market analysts say that the corporation's immediate redistribution of food and goods to affected areas will earn them sufficient profits to maintain their stock price, which has come to a relief to nervous stockholders. There has also been a noticeable outcry from locals who relied on the ocean and now turn to the corporation's mobile markets to put food on the table. And now, let's go to the scene of the cleanup.
2 years later.
The corporation was in top form unveiling the prototype of the first fully automated oil rig. The new design is to get the first government approval. Under simulations under real-world conditions that demonstrate the new design will have a flawless record, a record that no human crew has been able to match. Experts are anticipating another huge jump in stock prices for the corporation once the new equipment begins operation.
2. The United States Senate. We, the understand, hereby testified that the results of the ADT simulations were falsified, and that there was no oil obtained by the automatic drilling platform. Their motives are unknown to us, but as members of the scientific community, we have tested our facts against independent evidence, and confirmed that the corporation is lying about the capabilities of the automated drilling platform. It is our hope that the governments of the world will realize that they have been deceived and will take appropriate action.
Reviewing our top story tonight, the corporation has categorically denied that the allegations made by the signatories of the testimony brought before the Senate this week. They have offered as evidence a large supply of recently gathered crude oil brought in from the automated platform. Testing has confirmed that the oil is duly drilled and quotas are being met ahead of schedule. Claims of the scientific community took a serious credibility hit when it was shown that the corporation's legal team, that several of the signatories were former employees, whose services were terminated for insubordination and corporate espionage. The signatories of the controversial document have retaliated by pointing out that the corporation has contributed millions of each to Joint Senate committees and members in re-election contributions and private sector businesses. But whatever motives, the allegations brought by the scientific community were summarily dismissed.
6 months later.
The corporation today announced that they were suspending their cleanup in the Mediterranean. It is a time for summing up, and here are the most up-to-date figures we have. It is estimated that over 40,000 birds were killed, and more than 3 times the number of species. This oil spill during their migration season. It is estimated that over 20 million barrels of crude oil has been lost in the Mediterranean Sea. It is estimated that an area of ocean measuring over 500,000 square feet is now effectively dead. Experts suggest that it may recover within the next 400 years. Residents have been warned to avoid that area due to health risks. Local fishing villages and coastal towns have been abandoned and are now seeking homes and employment, which the corporation was quick to provide. Market analysis have praised the corporation for their charitable donations. Fuel prices are expected to rise accordingly with the new estimate of the lost oil.
Will you turn that off? Sykes jumped and turned to the television. Sorry, boss.
Devereaux was glad for the sudden silence. The birds of his ship, even this one size, was too small for arguments. Having that particular news item reported on the bridge while they worked was in very poor taste. Devereaux looked out the window at the coastline. It wasn't that he was unmoved by the sight. It was a fantastic view. Mountains in the background, untouched pristine beach, crystal blue water shining in the sunlight. It wasn't that he didn't notice, or that he didn't care, but there was something that interested him more. He was raised in a very poor family. It had nothing to do with his spare time, but to look at the upside town of New York and stare up at the skyscrapers. He came from a neighborhood where people were happy to fill in the minutes between being born, dying, and never go anywhere in their lives. Devereaux vowed he would never be that pathetic. He fought his way up. Even in the corporation, nobody cared about kids from the poor side of town, and he had to fight his way up. Even now he was in a position that would make a lot of difference, but took no personal glory or credit. He was in it for the money, and anyone who looked down would notice he wore it in every way he could. Even his clothes were personally tailored, made from the finest fabrics, and anyone who looked at his face would have seen a man sculpted straight out of a Renaissance painting. He was handsome, in the dark, violent kind of way, but the look was clearly artificial, the result of a lot of plastic surgery. Devereaux didn't care about fame or credit. He built his towers. He had broken untouched to the ground and won his way to a comfortable life. He wasn't about to give that up, not for anything. The corporation had given him this, and all he asked in return was a service. A service he was willing to give. It wasn't that he didn't like looking at it. It just didn't do anything for him. Bly! Bly, his security chief for Groundbaker, checked her monitors, swept her two-toned hair back behind her ear. No sign of anyone within sight of us, Captain. I have teams patrolling the coast to make sure. The story we're giving them is we're looking for a fugitive. My teams have been given federal marshal uniforms. They were only a couple of people. Looks like a pair of campers. She nodded and looked in the appropriate direction. My people are headed that way. Nobody else in range. Drop anchor, Devereaux commanded. Fore and aft. Sykes, the Vortex Console. Like us away. Position fixed. We are over the reserve. Ocean current stable. Devereaux looked at Bly. So, what kind of odds am I getting? Bly didn't answer. Come on. I know someone must have opened a book somewhere. What are the odds? 5-1 against you. Devereaux grinned savagely. Put me down for 50. Bly gestured at Sykes, who made a note without meeting his captain's eyes. Devereaux clasped his hands together. All right, let's get to work. Bly put her hand to her earpiece. Confirmed. Nothing on radar, sonar, or thermal scan. We're alone out here. What kind of rock is down there? Core samples say bedrock. Can this thing drill through that? Devereaux grinned and dialed up the power. This rig can eat through anything. Kinda like you. Bly commented coldly. They say people don't look like their pets. Devereaux glared at Bly. What the hell is your problem? We're on the same side here. A nature reserve was a great place to have a camping trip with your family. Smitty was teaching his kids how to safely set up a campfire so the flames would not spread. Hello there, folks! Smitty spun around and saw the campsite had been invaded by two men with uniforms. Both were carrying badges and guns. Whoa! Is that gun real? His son said quickly. Quiet, Leroy, Smitty said quickly. Excuse me, sir, but who are you? The first uniform smiled easily came forward. Sorry for starting you there. We're U.S. Marshals. I'm afraid we're going to have to move your folks out here. Smitty couldn't believe it. What? I've been coming to this campsite for 15 years. Nobody said anything to me about a restricted area. Uniform 2 held up his hands. Relax, you ain't breaking it, Lau. See, There was a jailbreak about 5 kilometers from here toward the highway. Both prisoners are being transferred. One man's escaped. Word is he's headed this way. We're plenty of force for him to hide out here, so he sent us to clear the reserve. Don't want to risk taking any hostages. Speaking failed. My God, is that road out here clear? We just got here. I don't have any weapons except a swift arming knife and my kids. Uniform 1 nodded. It's just unlikely we made it this far on foot yet. Makes you feel better. I could come back with you. Make sure you make it out of the reserve quickly. But I wouldn't worry about that. Just make sure you get out of range quickly. This is a pretty dangerous man. He sent a look at Smitty's children, and the things he's done to children.
Allegedly.
Say no more, Smitty said instantly. Madison Ace doing worse than he ever could. Come on, kids. This camping trip is canceled. Oh, by the way, did I also mention I have at least 5 credit cards, each with $1,000 balance inside, and I also have my social security number here, my ID, and anything else you might want to steal when my back is turned. Sometimes life does smiles at you. Blight nodded. The campers are gone. We are officially on our own out there. Devereaux hit some buttons on the ship, quivered at the sounds of machinery coming to life. Retractable pylons extended down into the water till they hit bottom. Everyone on the bridge gripped their consoles as the ship raised slightly from the surface of the ocean. Slowly, laboriously. Devereaux felt a tinge. It was working. Sykes turned from the console. Pylons locked. Seal bubble. What, stable altitude 15 feet. Devereaux whooped. Yes, sir. That's the way to do it. Pay the winners. Money changed hands grudgingly, including Blue Eyes. Devereaux laughed. Ha ha! Lower the drill. Yes, sir. The center of the ship was on open water. The entire thing a floating platform for the drill and tanks. The drill lowered through the opening of the center of the ship into the water and began its descent to the ocean. 75 feet from the air to the seafloor. 60, 50. Slow down! Sykes directed carefully, working his controls, eased the drill bit into its destination. There was a tense beat. Nobody knew whether he should be nervous. Just down! Sykes said finally. We have a firm drill area, sir. Ready to begin. Devereaux sent one glance to Bly, who nodded. The area was secure. Commence drilling. Back in her private quarters that night, Bly hung her gun belt, shrugged out of her jacket, rolled her head back and forth. Her shoulders always ached when she started to get tired. She hit the intercom. Sykes! Have somebody bring me food! Look out to the society. You were down with him in the stateroom this evening. Sykes' voice responded promptly. I'll bet he does, Bly scorned. And if I refuse? There was a beat before the voice came back, flustered and uncertain. Oh, he didn't say, ma'am. I think they're still serving the galley if... Never mind, Bly said dismissively. Devereaux commanded his people from the top down. People who worked the ship didn't have details on his way of thinking. Devereaux had never gone out of his way to give her the choices on the matter. If she went to the galley, she had to eat with the rest of the crew. If she went with his hands in the stateroom, she would get a 5-star meal, but had to share it with Devereaux. If she didn't either, she would go hungry. The setting was not worth the effort. She pulled her jacket back and left her cabin. Came back a moment later and collected her gun. Bly entered the captain's stateroom without knocking. It was the first time she had been there, as she was momentarily stunned by the sheer opulence of the room. The walls were covered with rare oil paintings, with gold frames on one side, cutting-edge entertainment equipment on the other. Playing MLP and Arrowverse 24/7. Nice. The floor was lined with marble. The music was playing some classical aria. The bed was covered in dark silks. The cutlery on dining ware on the antique dining table were all gold or sterling silver. Devereaux sat himself at the view for the indecent bathroom, wearing an expensive designing dinner suit. He also looked good. Evening, Best Buy, he said. Please, won't you sit down? He even pulled her chair out for her. Bly took it all in. I wonder if it was always like this, or he was trying to seduce her. She hadn't known him long, but what she had seen so far suggested this extravagance would be typical for him. Either way, she could afford to be gracious. Thank you. Thought you might prefer to eat privately. Frank has his privileges, and I knew you would prefer something other than what's being served in a galley. I had my personal chef flown in before we set out. You what? Devereaux waved her down. Relax. He doesn't know what we're setting up for. I made it a point to have him helicopter off before we set our final bearing. Bly, in her role as head of security, was satisfied with that.
Seems like a waste of effort in helicopter fuel.
But it's worth it. For dinner tonight, we start with an entree of artichoke and black truffle soup, served with a layered brioche with mustards and truffle butter. For the main course, we have tartare Kobe beef with imperial beluga caviar and Barolo oyster. And for desserts, Amadei Porcelana chocolate sundae with Tahitian vanilla bean ice cream and Madagascar vanilla sauce. All of it served with a 1955 Latour.
And if this was Sadeki Soma, we would be spending the next 2 pages describing how it tasted. And Bly would be having way too much fun enjoying the meal. Sounds far too expensive to be considered food.
Devereaux popped the cork on the bowl, which is why you should be glad I'm paying. And I brought enough for 2.
Bly smirked despite herself. Sounds delicious.
Devereaux poured the wine and sat down, helping himself. For a time they ate in silence.
They may have been on the same team, but they still didn't like each other too much. As such, didn't have much to say to each other. You must be very pleased with yourself. The rig is a success.
The rig was my idea, and it's proved its ability. I have to say I'm pleased. But you're not.
It was not a question.
This is a good day for us, so what's wrong?
Bly took a defiant bite. None of your business.
It is. If it's something that's going to affect your job.
It's not.
And I should take your word for it?
Yes.
If our positions were reversed, would you take my word for it?
Bly smirked tightly. Touché? There was some silence as they ate. But it was clear neither of them let it go. She knew it was only a matter of time, so she spoke first, instead of waiting for him to ask. We camped here.
I'm sorry?
When I was young, we lived out west. We camped here sometimes. That's why I had my people work away from official campsites. I knew where the unofficial ones were. Dad would hate this. He liked fishing here.
Can't fish on reserve.
Can't drill for oil either. But here we are. Anyway, back then it wasn't a reserve. Back then you could do things like take your dog for a walk on the beach, or take a photo at the public place that had people in it. She took a sip. He liked to fish.
Well, then tell him he should join the corporation. They catch about a bazillion fish a day.
Not the point. Dad would hate me doing this.
Does that bother you?
Not really. He and I parted ways a long time ago. She gestured out the window. I'm not saying I'm against this. I'm not saying I'm scared. Fortune favors the bold, and I've been beating the odds my entire life. I'm just saying, this is nothing in the spot that we're digging up. It's a nature preserve. Pretty well traveled tourist spot right around the time this year. We tear this up, people are going to know us.
Bly, nobody's going to know we're even here. Anything that gets torn up will have 100 feet of wire over it. After that, the next drill site is halfway out in the Atlantic. We stand to make a fortune and get away with it. Nobody will even know we're here in the first place.
The most money, the least rich.
Bly muttered under her breath. What does that mean?
Something my father used to say whenever he got passed for promotion.
Did that happen a lot?
All the time. My father had a knack for pissing people off. I had to inherit something from him.
He chuckled.
She just turned around the room. There's more money in this room than most people see in a lifetime. This rig's working great. It's your design. You stand to gain the most for this. So tell me, do you feel rich?
Devereaux was silent for a long beat. I grew up in South Detroit. My father, rest his soul, was an honest man. And not honest like us. I mean actually honest. He was a prison guard. He got laid off when I was a kid. I had to work very young. I became a cop with my dad's help. When I was a cop, I looked into it. The company that owned the prison had to keep their profit margin, so they made 2 positions redundant. Not to make a profit, just to keep the profit a little higher. At the end of the year, the board of directors of that company took a vote on what to do with the extra $100,000 they saved, and voted unanimously to give themselves end-of-year bonuses. When they realized they still needed to keep the profit monitor up, they fired another 2 workers. and not one of them committed a crime. A few weeks later, my father was brought in. He'd been arrested for stealing a car, trying to pay off the debts that were being worked out of him. The car belonged to one of the board of directors he worked for. The guy pressed full charges, set a coven of lawyers loose on my family. Blake said nothing as Devereaux spoke. He started, even calm, but gradually worked himself up, getting more and more passionate until he was almost yelling. When I finally got some pull with the corporation, I suggested he go into the security services. Give us some muscle, open up new chains. Mr. Apis agreed. He suggested I buy the company that would fire Dad. The board of directors didn't match the bid, and now each and every one of those people who put my father in jail are looking through garbage cans for their dinner. There is no right or wrong. There's only winning or losing, and I intend to spend every day I have in this world looking down on saps like my family, my old neighbors. They struggled their way through life, and they don't live longer for it. They don't enjoy it. I sleep on silk seats every night. I have orange juice and champagne for breakfast, caviar and lobster every night. They're going to bury me with pockets full of $100 bills, and people where I used to grow up are going to envy my corpse. Devereaux was breathing hard, but his face was back under control. Something dark and ugly had been revealed from beneath his artificial perfection. Devereaux, Blythe said coldly, back where I come from, that's not ambition. That's greed. So you get $1 million one day. You won't be happy unless you get $2 million. You get $2 million, you won't be happy unless you get 5. You get caught, you can trade it in for bread and water. Oh, please. You have any idea how cushy a life can be when you've got money? If they send me away, I'll have guards saluting as I walk past my private 5-star cell. Besides, if it's all for nothing, what's your stake in this then? They find us here, you stand to lose as much as I do. Blythe snorted. I'm smarter than you. So much so that I should be running things here. So much so that I should be running a lot more of the corporation. She growled low under her breath. I'm not. No, that's my fault. You see, living for today is the only option. But when I'm gone, people are going to remember my name. She smiled brilliantly, suddenly exquisitely beautiful. Money is not the point. You can't take that with you. Control is the issues. I intend to live forever. Immortal! There are ways, but that takes money. Takes power. The top 3% of this world rule the rest of it. They are subject to laws as it suits them. All those saps, as you put them, they fight their way through life because they can't control it. I am in control of my life, and nobody gave me anything. She gestured at Devereaux's play. I intend to live as a god, not a vacuum cleaner. You can't take power with you either. Maybe not, but they're going to know my name. Devereaux considered a moment. Well, to each their own. Here's to us, gods amongst dumb animals. Blythe smirked inside herself, and he toasted each other. Well, that was an awesome way of opening it. The way that this was written and the way it was constructed really does feel like an intro to a dark and more grittier reboot of Captain Planet, and even offers up a lot of room to explain the different Captain Planet villains and their motivations. I really like what they did with Dr. Bly here, as she is one of my favorite villains, giving her a full-on backstory and characterizations that make me smile. I also am putting money on who I think is going to end up being Hawkins Gradley and Bly, and, Luton Plunder. Also, personally, I would love it if, come to find out, at the very end of all this, the man who set up the corporation was actually Zarm, who was planning on brokering a new war out of it. I mean, come on, the guy is a god of war. He loves creating strife and chaos almost as much as Dark Conquest. Excuse me. Connie, you and Zarm aren't... Huh? How did you know about my cousin? Damn it, how did I know? But still, this is a great opening, and I look forward to maybe reading some more of these chapters to myself. And I am seeing that it looks like each of the Planeteers have their own chapter before they actually bond together and actually get their powers. I'm quite curious to see where this is all going, and if I know my tropes correctly, I have a feeling we probably won't see Captain Planet until much later, probably near the end. Which, you ask me, that's the best place to put him. I mean, yeah, the show's called Captain Planet and the Planeteers, but if you're anything like me, you are not watching this for the big blue guy. You're watching this because you enjoy those 5 teens, and you can actually talk about why Mati's power of heart can actually be useful. While watching Suburban Nights, because you have no life. What? Is that just me? Oh, yeah, I guess I should get going and think about my career now. Um, well, that was one down, that's just where to go. I'll see you all next time!